dad.
What is his name?
Christian Obumseli.
What's his name?
Christian Obumseli.
Christian.
Obumseli, please.
Listen, sit down. Do me a favor, sit down. Do not
Why are
move.
you yelling at me?
Do not move.
Why are you yelling at me?
Do not move, sit down.
Okay, but
We don't know what's going on. We don't know what happened.
I'm terrified
So
for him.
right now, yeah, don't worry. They're helping him. So just sit down. Don't move, okay?
Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God.
The morning sun had barely risen above the high-rise towers when the quiet inside apartment 2201 broke in a way no one could ever forget. Moments earlier, everything looked normal, peaceful, even. A young couple living in a place filled with bright views, expensive comforts, and a life they worked hard to show the world. But appearances have a way of protecting the wrong things. At 9:14 a.m., a single call for help would set off a chain of events that forced investigators, attorneys, and millions of viewers to question every story they thought they understood. Because when officers arrived at that apartment, nothing matched the image that had been shared online for months. And much later, in a courtroom packed with reporters, family members, and silent onlookers, a video would play. A video that pulled every layer back, one frame at a time. She insisted she was the one who had been harmed. She insisted the danger came from him. She insisted she was the victim. But the footage told a different story. This is a story stretched between love, control, loyalty, and the moment everything breaks. Before we move deeper into this investigation, take a second to like, subscribe, and share so you never miss these case breakdowns, and let us know where you're watching from. Your support helps keep these stories alive. And to everyone who's been part of this community, thank you. If you want access to exclusive case files, early releases, and deeper analysis, you can join our YouTube membership. It's designed for viewers who want more than headlines, they want understanding. Now, let's step into the moments that led to that call, and the truth that waited on the other side of it. It was April 12, 2022, 9:14 a.m., in a Miami courtroom that had already been buzzing with anticipation for over an hour. The room smelled faintly of polished wood and leather, the sort of sterile combination that always seemed heavier than it should. Every eye was fixed on the defendant, Courtney Clenney, a woman whose life had been lived largely in the public eye. Her expression was calm, composed, almost serene, but beneath that mask, countless eyes searched for a flicker of doubt, a telltale sign of guilt, or the faintest tremor of fear. Outside, the morning sun reflected off the bay, illuminating the skyline, yet inside, time seemed suspended. Reporters scribbled notes furiously, cameras clicked quietly, and the court staff moved with precise, mechanical rhythm. No one could have predicted the impact of what was about to play on the large screen at the front of the courtroom. It was a surveillance video, less than a minute long, yet every second contained weighty consequences. Every juror, lawyer, and family member felt the tension swell as the video began to play, and an invisible line was drawn between what had been claimed and what had actually occurred. Courtney had always insisted she was the victim, that her actions were defensive, reactive, driven by fear. Her lawyer had stated plainly, "My client acted out of fear. She never intended harm. She was protecting herself." But as the video unfolded, the room collectively realized that the truth was more complex. The footage showed gestures, expressions, and movements that hinted at conflict, escalation, and choices that would soon be scrutinized frame by frame. Each second of that video would become a battlefield of interpretation, testimony, and argument. Outside the courthouse, the case had already divided public opinion. Fans of Courtney had rallied around her, praising her composure, calling her story believable, and amplifying her narrative on social media. At the same time, Christian Obumseli's friends and family mourned quietly, sharing memories of a man described as patient, compassionate, and devoted. This dichotomy of perception created a storm that mirrored the tension inside the courtroom, a storm waiting to erupt as the evidence rolled out for all to see. Weeks before the fateful day, investigators pieced together fragments of the couple's life, text messages, photos, and witness accounts that revealed escalating conflicts. Friends spoke of Courtney as someone intense, ambitious, and at times volatile, able to charm and manipulate in equal measure. Christian, on the other hand, was patient, steady, and deeply committed, often attempting to navigate the emotional intensity of the relationship without conflict. This tension, between public persona and private reality, between fear and control, between love and anger, set the stage for tragedy. The video captured a confrontation that lasted less than a minute. Christian's gestures were defensive, his hands raised, his voice calm but firm. Courtney moved toward him, her movements deliberate, her expressions oscillating between anger and fear. The knife in her hand was visible only fleetingly, but every juror would later describe the way it seemed to change the room's energy in real time. Forensic experts would dissect each frame, analyzing the angle, speed, and distance of every movement. Courtney's calm in the courtroom contrasted sharply with what the video suggested. For viewers, this created a powerful cognitive dissonance. How could someone claim fear while performing actions that appeared deliberate and confrontational? The courtroom held its collective breath, as every subtle motion on the screen became a subject of intense scrutiny. Neighbors had called building security weeks earlier, reporting loud shouting and signs of argument. Text messages recovered by investigators revealed patterns of frustration, pleading, and attempts at reconciliation. Christian would write, "I care, but I can't keep losing myself trying to make you happy." Courtney replied, "You don't see me. You don't get me. I'm doing this for us, and you don't even care." These exchanges, seemingly mundane to the casual observer, became crucial evidence in understanding the dynamic that led to the confrontation captured on camera. Even those in the courtroom who knew little of the couple felt the weight of human emotion in the footage. Love, fear, anger, regret, and desperation were all present, compressed into a matter of seconds, yet amplified by the stillness of the courtroom. When the video ended, a silence fell. It was not just quiet, it was a pause heavy with anticipation, a moment where the narrative Courtney had crafted collided with objective reality. The jurors leaned forward. Courtney's eyes, still steady, betrayed nothing overtly, yet her lips pressed together in a slight, almost imperceptible tight line. Outside, social media buzzed, with trending hashtags and live debates over the implications of what had just been revealed. The world was watching, waiting, forming judgments based on seconds of footage and hours of curated statements. And then, in that still, suspended moment, the courtroom understood something undeniable. The story was no longer about claims, about online personas, or even about who had been right or wrong up to this point. The story had become about choices, consequences, and a single moment that captured the complexity of two people bound together by love, tension, and tragedy. The room remained silent, but the question lingered, unspoken yet pressing: if Courtney's words claimed she was a victim, how did they reconcile with the evidence captured in that short video? And more importantly, what would the legal system, the jury, and the public decide about a life lived partially online, partially in intense emotional reality, and now fully scrutinized under the court's gaze? That was the moment the story truly began. The video had played, the courtroom held its breath, and the world waited. What followed would unravel not only the truth about a single confrontation but also the layers of ambition, emotion, and human complexity that had brought two lives to this fateful morning. Before the courtroom, before the shocking video, before the tragedy that would dominate headlines, there was Courtney Clenney, a young woman whose life online was as meticulously curated as it was commanding. Born in Los Angeles, California, in 1998, Courtney grew up in a household her friends described as strict but loving. Her parents emphasized education, responsibility, and independence, but like many teenagers, she sought validation outside the home, craving a space where her personality could shine unchecked. That space became social media, where followers, likes, and comments offered affirmation in a way her personal life sometimes could not. By her late teens, she had discovered a world where attention was currency. By 2019, she had amassed thousands of followers across platforms, sharing glimpses of a life full of confidence, ambition, and beauty. To fans, she was magnetic, witty, playful, and unapologetically bold. Yet the images posted online masked a private life that was far more complicated. Maintaining her persona demanded constant effort, a performance that required both charm and manipulation. Friends later revealed that Courtney sometimes felt trapped by her public identity, forced to act a certain way even when emotions simmered beneath the surface. It was in this period that she met Christian Obumseli. Their first meeting was, by all accounts, ordinary, yet sparks of chemistry were undeniable. Christian, described by family and friends as patient, kind, and deeply loyal, was drawn to her drive and charisma. At first, their relationship appeared balanced, even enviable. They traveled together, shared private jokes, and occasionally posted images to show the world a couple in love. But the dynamics beneath the surface were more fragile than the pictures suggested. Courtney's online persona often clashed with her private emotions. Friends recalled instances when she confided fears, frustrations, and feelings of isolation, admitting that maintaining her image online was emotionally taxing. Christian, on his part, tried to mediate tensions calmly. Their interactions frequently oscillated between tenderness and confrontation, each argument revealing a layer of intensity rarely shared with outsiders. Text messages recovered later revealed patterns of frustration and emotional strain. On February 2, 2022, the couple clashed over a shared financial account. Courtney wrote, "You don't see me. You don't get me. I am doing this for us, and you don't even care." Christian's response reflected his steady temperament. "I care, but I can't keep losing myself trying to make you happy." These exchanges, seemingly ordinary, were critical in understanding the psychological backdrop of the tragic events that would follow. Friends described Courtney as intense, ambitious, and highly driven. She had built a career as an OnlyFans creator, managing a business model that demanded constant attention, content, and engagement. Her income and influence grew quickly, but along with success came stress. She admitted privately to friends that her public image sometimes felt like a cage, a performance she couldn't escape. The tension between public adoration and private pressure became a recurring theme in her life, one that would inform her decisions in high-stakes moments. Christian, meanwhile, was portrayed by friends and family as measured, thoughtful, and compassionate. He often tried to resolve conflicts calmly, attempting to understand Courtney's intensity without allowing it to dominate his sense of self. Yet even he admitted that the volatility could be exhausting. His patience sometimes masked fear, fear of emotional eruptions, fear of losing control, and fear of losing Courtney entirely. This dynamic, between ambition and stability, intensity and patience, created a delicate balance, one that was difficult to maintain and easy to disrupt. On March 10, 2022, tensions flared again. Courtney sent Christian a text, "Stop telling me how to feel. I am allowed to be angry." Later, she wrote, "I hate that I love you so much. I don't want to hurt you, but I feel like I am losing control." These messages illustrate not only emotional intensity but also the deep psychological strain each partner experienced. They reveal the fragile architecture of their relationship, where love, fear, anger, and desire for validation coexisted in a volatile mix. Professionally, Courtney thrived. She had cultivated a disciplined approach to content creation and brand management, ensuring her influence extended beyond casual social media. Colleagues described her as shrewd and strategic, able to anticipate trends and capture attention quickly. Yet those same colleagues recalled moments of vulnerability. Nights when Courtney confided that the pressure to perform was overwhelming, that she often felt isolated despite her online adoration. These glimpses of humanity highlight the complexity of her character, someone capable of charm, manipulation, vulnerability, and brilliance simultaneously. Christian's friends echoed similar complexities in his personality. He was steadfast, caring, and patient, often attempting to temper Courtney's intensity. Yet even his loyalty and patience were tested repeatedly, particularly in private moments of conflict that never made it to public view. In hindsight, these moments revealed patterns of tension and unresolved conflict, small sparks that would eventually ignite into the fire of the tragic events to come. By the time April 12, 2022, arrived, the emotional and psychological stakes had reached their peak. Courtney's online persona, the image she projected to the world, collided violently with the realities of her private life. Each argument, each text message, and each private encounter contributed to a pressure cooker environment. Investigators later noted that this tension was evident in the apartment: furniture displaced, subtle damage to walls, and text evidence revealing emotional volatility. It was a world of contrast. Public adulation and private fear, calculated charm and raw emotion, ambition and volatility. Understanding Courtney's life in these terms is essential not only to comprehending the actions that would unfold but also to understanding how ordinary human emotions, love, fear, pride, and frustration, can escalate when combined with isolation, ambition, and the pressures of a life lived partially online. The story of Courtney Clenney was no longer just about an influencer or a creator, it was about a young woman navigating fame, emotion, and relationships in a way that few truly understood. And Christian, patient and loyal, was caught in the center of a relationship that would ultimately test the limits of control, fear, and trust. As we move into the events that would culminate in the fatal confrontation, it is crucial to remember this. Every moment, every text, every argument, and every choice built toward a single, tragic morning. A morning that would force the world to reconcile the curated life of an online star with the raw, volatile reality hidden behind the screen. The night of April 11, 2022, was ordinary in appearance, yet charged with tension. Courtney and Christian returned to apartment 2201 after a long day that included errands, content creation, and small disputes over shared responsibilities. Friends later recalled that Courtney seemed unusually restless that evening, texting Christian sporadically, alternating between playful banter and sharp remarks. "I can't do this anymore," she wrote, "I'm tired of being everything for you and no one noticing." Christian, as always, replied with calm reassurances, "We'll figure it out. I just want us safe and okay." By the early hours of April 12, the emotional landscape had shifted. Small disagreements over routine matters escalated. A spilled cup of coffee, a misplaced phone charger, or a simple misunderstanding might have been trivial under normal circumstances, but in this environment, every action carried weight. Investigators later noted signs of a struggle: chairs slightly moved, faint scuffs along the floor, and objects out of place, subtle, almost invisible, but telling in retrospect. At approximately 6:23 a.m., voices rose. Christian attempted to mediate, his tone even, rational. "Let's just take a breath and calm down. We don't need to fight over this," he said. Courtney, her voice tense and unwavering, responded, "I am done explaining myself. You don't understand, and you never will." The conflict had reached a tipping point. The fatal confrontation lasted less than a minute, but every second was critical. Christian raised his hands in a defensive posture, trying to protect himself while reasoning with Courtney. She advanced toward him, holding a knife, her steps measured but her eyes wide, revealing a storm of fear and anger. The video captured fleeting details: Christian's attempts to back away, the swift motions of Courtney's hands, and the brief but intense moments where neither party yielded. Forensic analysis later revealed that Christian suffered a single knife wound to the chest, piercing a vital area and causing rapid blood loss. Experts noted that while the angle suggested proximity, the force and trajectory were inconsistent with accidental contact. Every detail, the knife's placement, the distance, and the defensive postures, became central to evaluating Courtney's claim of self-defense. Witnesses outside the apartment reported hearing raised voices but no screams. One neighbor described hearing a struggle, words shouted, then a sudden quiet. Security footage captured glimpses of movement but no clear images, leaving the video in the courtroom as the defining evidence. It showed intention, hesitation, and rapid escalation, a complex moment compressed into seconds, frozen for jurors to analyze frame by frame. After the incident, Courtney called 911. Her tone in the recording was calm yet urgent, he's hurt. I didn't mean to, I didn't know, please, someone help him. Emergency responders arrived within minutes, but Christian was pronounced dead at the scene. The apartment, once a shared home, became a sealed crime scene, each object a piece of evidence, every detail a clue to understanding what had transpired. The investigation revealed a critical juxtaposition, the public narrative of Courtney's composed, confident persona versus the private reality of fear, anger, and escalating conflict. Her claim of self-defense was immediately tested against video footage, forensic analysis, and witness accounts. Experts debated whether her actions reflected immediate fear or calculated response. Each minute detail, the angle of a hand, the step forward, the words spoken, would become part of the courtroom discussion. And yet, despite the intensity of the moment, a chilling calm settled over Courtney as law enforcement led her from the apartment. She appeared collected, almost eerily so, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. Friends would later remark on her composure, noting that it was consistent with the persona she had cultivated online, someone capable of masking extreme emotions, projecting confidence, and controlling perception. By 7:12 a.m., the apartment was secured, evidence catalogued, and the first reports filed. But the most crucial evidence, the video, the narrative, and the psychological complexity, had yet to be fully unveiled in court. Every action of that morning, every choice, would now face the scrutiny of a jury, media, and public opinion. The questions were no longer hypothetical: did fear justify the fatal outcome, or had control and intent dictated tragedy? The answers would emerge slowly, in a courtroom that was already bracing for shock. By the time the Miami-Dade police secured apartment 2201 on April 12, 2022, the scene was meticulously documented. Officers catalogued every detail, the placement of furniture, the angle of the knife, traces of blood on the floor, and even fingerprints on a nearby counter. Investigators began piecing together what had happened in those crucial moments between 6:23 a.m. and 7:12 a.m., analyzing each frame of the video and correlating it with forensic evidence. Autopsy results, released days later, confirmed that Christian had suffered a single fatal wound to the chest, consistent with a deliberate thrust. The trajectory and depth left little ambiguity about the severity of the blow, contradicting initial claims of accidental contact. Digital evidence became equally important. Text messages, social media activity, and prior interactions revealed escalating emotional tension. Conversations that appeared mundane to outsiders, discussions about finances, content scheduling, or disagreements about shared living space, now became critical in understanding the psychological climate leading up to the fatal confrontation. Each message was scrutinized for signs of fear, control, and intent. Court filings commenced swiftly. On April 15, 2022, Courtney was formally charged. Her attorney argued that she acted in self-defense, framing her actions as reactive to perceived threats. The prosecution countered with evidence from the apartment, the video, and witness statements suggesting a deliberate escalation. Media coverage amplified public interest. Headlines splashed both sides of the debate across social platforms, from headlines questioning her innocence to columns praising her composure under pressure. The courtroom became a theater for truth, perception, and moral judgment. Pre-trial motions included requests to suppress portions of the video, disputes over forensic interpretations, and challenges to witness credibility. Each legal maneuver exposed another layer of the story. The intersection of public persona, private emotion, and the weight of actions under scrutiny. Family members from both sides testified, offering a glimpse into the emotional fallout of the relationship. Christian's relatives described him as loving, patient, and devoted, struggling to manage a partnership strained by intensity and public exposure. Courtney's friends and colleagues depicted her as ambitious, highly disciplined, and capable of extraordinary emotional control, yet vulnerable to private stressors. These testimonies painted a complex picture, leaving the jury to navigate a landscape where emotion, evidence, and morality collided. By mid-April, the stage was set for the critical moment everyone had been anticipating, the playback of the defining video in the courtroom. Every lawyer, juror, and family member understood that the narrative was about to shift irreversibly, and with it, the perception of who was truly the victim and who was responsible. As the judge called the courtroom to order and the large screen flickered to life, every eye was drawn forward. The moment of truth had arrived. The video would not just replay the confrontation, it would challenge every claim, every memory, and every belief. And when the final frame froze on the action that changed everything, the world would realize that nothing about this case was simple. The courtroom fell silent as the video began to play on April 20, 2022, at 10:02 a.m. Every juror, every family member, every lawyer leaned forward, aware that these seconds would define the story. The footage showed movement, hesitation, and tension, every subtle gesture magnified under the scrutiny of analysis. Christian's defensive posture, the quick motions of Courtney's hands, and the brief but critical moments before the fatal strike became a puzzle that the courtroom collectively tried to solve. Observers described a mix of disbelief and shock. Some whispered about her calm composure, others about the intensity of the confrontation itself. Experts dissected the angle and trajectory of the knife, while family members grappled with the emotional weight of watching a loved one's final moments frozen on film. By the time the playback ended, the courtroom had absorbed a truth both undeniable and complex. The video had crystallized fear, intent, and consequence into a single, indelible moment, a moment that would echo through the trial, social media, and public discourse. The question now was clear. Would the jury see her as a victim, or as someone who crossed the line from fear to fatal choice? As murmurs filled the room, the judge's gavel signaled the start of deliberations. Every heart held its breath, waiting for a decision that could redefine justice, responsibility, and accountability in this case. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned on May 3, 2022, at 2:47 p.m. The courtroom was tense, every eye fixed on the foreperson as the verdict was announced. The words echoed like a drumbeat, each syllable carrying the weight of months of investigation, testimony, and scrutiny. Courtney Clenney was found guilty of second-degree murder. The verdict was both a legal conclusion and an emotional crescendo, a moment where evidence, video, and human judgment converged. Family members of Christian Obumseli wept quietly, some relieved to see accountability, others shattered by the reality that no verdict could ever undo the loss. Courtney's expression remained composed, a mixture of defiance, disbelief, and quiet calculation. Observers noted the paradox: a woman whose online presence projected confidence and control now faced the tangible consequences of a life-altering act. The case became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of how private tension, emotional intensity, and momentary decisions can ripple outward, leaving indelible marks on all involved. Legal experts debated, social media users argued, and psychologists analyzed the complex interplay of fear, control, and human emotion. For viewers who followed this story from beginning to end, it raises questions about love, ambition, and morality. How do ordinary people reach extraordinary points of conflict? What lines are crossed when fear and emotion collide with action? If this story held your attention, subscribe to our channel for more deeply researched, real-life cases. Share your thoughts in the comments, we want to hear your perspective. Join our membership to access exclusive insights, behind-the-scenes analysis, and premium content that dives further into cases like this. Thank you for supporting our channel. Your engagement allows us to continue telling the stories that matter most.